everyone, how are you? Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where in the world you're joining us from. We're going to give it a minute or two just so more people can join in. But while we're waiting, if you could just in the chat box put in where you're joining from, it may help Dr. Shalini tailor her answers, to your area, or if she has some understanding of the industries in your area, she could talk about that a little more. But I can see we've got some great attendance today, Dr. Shalini. So you've really brought in the crowds. So I hope you're ready to convince them with magic. Yeah. Yeah, guys. So while we're just waiting for everyone else to join in, I just want to say this is an Ask Me Anything session. So while I will be asking some questions, the benefit of this session really is for you to ask Dr. Shalini all the questions you have about the DBA, about Golden Gate University. Dr. Shalini also has a large career or a long spanning career in the corporate sector as well. So if you have any questions about the corporate sector or your corporate career, you want some advice, feel free to ask any of that today. All questions are welcome, basically. So I can see we're covering the entire globe. Actually, we've got someone from Canada, Vietnam, Germany. So that's good. If anyone else wants to add their countries, feel free to. Iran is also here. Okay, amazing, fantastic. So we really have people from a wide variety of countries. Canada, Singapore, fantastic. Okay. One more thing I just want to say that, while we're here in the beginning of the session, please put all of your questions in the Q&A section, because that's where we will be picking up the questions from. If additionally that, you wanna maybe talk to Dr. Shalini, maybe towards the end, the last 10-15 minutes, we'll allow you to also raise your hand so you can actually unmute yourself and ask questions. So yeah. So I think maybe 30 more seconds, Dr. Shalini will kick it off, if that's okay.
Sure.
And yeah, and we can...
Welcome everyone. This is like the United Nations, maybe far more effective. Maybe we should put our brains together and solve these problems in the world right now, rather than...
Great idea.
Fantastic.
Great
Thank
idea.
you so much.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm just going to kick off. So, hi everyone. My name is Vikramaditya Kapoor. I am a program manager at Upgrad, and so one of my responsibilities is to work with Golden Gate University on the various Golden Gate University programs that we have, which include the DBA, the MBA, the SJD, which is a Doctorate of Law, and the LLM program. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by Dr. Shalini of Golden Gate University. She is the associate head of the DBA program, but apart from that, she is the founder of startups such as Metaverse University, Freelance Moms, Lexion Data Analytics, and she's an academician, a teacher. She's got her DBA from the University of Florida, Warrington College of Business, and has done her earlier education from IIM Calcutta and St. Xavier's in India. That's a brief introduction put together by our team, Dr. Shalini, but if there's anything I got wrong or anything that you'd like to introduce about yourself, please let us know one fun fact at least.
Has anybody stayed in an ICE hotel?
I haven't. I don't know about if any of our attendees.
Come on. That's the most fun thing you should do. Or go to Greenland, and you can sit on icebergs. That's fun. Maybe I'm just missing the snow.
Fair enough. So guys, from Dr. Shalini, her fun fact is that she stayed in an ICE hotel and she recommends that everyone goes to Greenland. So I think both are on my to-do list. If anyone's been there, please say so in the chat. So Dr. Shalini, thank you for joining us so early in your time. But I think my first question, right, and I'm going to get the ball rolling, is really to ask that, how did you decide to pursue a DBA and move into academia? What was your thought process? So, with your corporate experience, why the DBA, why academia?
I think I started with the PhD. So I was in corporate for many years. I was a consultant, Big 5, Big 6 at that time, and now it's Big 4. And I realized as a consultant, we are reacting to things more than creating things. So a company comes with a problem and you're like, okay, and you take all their money and solve the problem, but you never sit back and think about what is the RCA, the root cause analysis and stuff like that. So I said, hey, maybe I can do a PhD and deep dive into something that really, really interests me. And then I started doing my PhD and I realized it is very, very, very narrow. It's like they keep saying left nose surgeon, and I'm like, I can't do that. This is so boring. You just get stuck with one thing. So I decided to do a DBA, and I think we were the first batch at the University of Florida, top 50 school in the country, the world. And I was the first one from there to graduate with the DBA. So the beauty of the DBA for me was I could actually do courses in finance, in marketing, in production, in operations, which probably some of them were not my area of expertise. So I think that was a lot of fun. And especially now, given that, so I moved into academia, and then I realized academia is also very boring, to be polite. I think academia is very, again, hung up on these very narrow, narrow kind of silos. You just have, okay, people who do marketing don't understand a word about finance. I've known people in, who doing marketing don't understand even profit and loss statements. So it was like, oh my God, how can you be a business professor and not know this? So I think I have parallelly, and I think education is changing a lot. And so I'm trying to, do things in different various fields with the education, because I think given the world of AI and everything, education is going to be just so different, is already so different. And we need to be at the cutting edge of, doing that and embracing it, because what we've realized, sadly enough, is that earlier academia, you would lead industry, and now we're really finding it almost at the other way, especially in places like Gen AI, and that industry is leading in academia. So it's a good combination of both.
Very interesting. So you actually considered the PhD, went through and then moved to the DBA. And I'm sure a lot of people here are actually going through that same journey of discovering what kind of doctoral education they want to pursue. So do you have any advice for them when doing the research between the DBA and the PhD? And what type of person should go for either?
Okay, I did actually do 1 year of a PhD, just to, not to just give up after looking at it. And like I realized, it was, the professors were fantastic and great and all, but they were very, very, very focused. And I realized, I was like, I presume being a consultant, I was doing so many things in different areas that it was just very stifling. And I realized, I was trying on my own to take courses from, other departments, and then there were all kind of issues with that. And then I realized, no, this is not for me. But my colleagues who finished a PhD, when I was doing a PhD, they just focus on, even now, many years later, they're just focusing on one thing. And if you ask them something else, they're just so very narrow, and not in a bad way, it's just, that's their expertise. It's like the T curve of learning, right? They have more depth. And I just wanted more breadth. So I think, especially if you're at management level, it's not like, hey, if you're a leader, you're not just leading, even if you're leading only the finance team, you need to learn leadership skills, right? Because that's so critical. Otherwise, you're like, okay, fine, I know finance, I don't know what work to give you or how I should motivate you or stuff like that. You need to understand, what the other departments are doing. So I think it's, the DBA was a much better fit for me.
Got it. I can see someone has raised a hand. Just a reminder, do put your questions in the Q&A sections if you guys do have questions, but I will allow Ray to talk.
Yeah, let's no allowing, we are all here as a
foreign, but as a host, I have to allow him to talk.
Yes, yeah.
So Ray,
Okay.
if you can unmute yourself and ask the question that you have for Dr. Shalini.
Hi Ray, welcome. Ray, unmute.
Yes, it says it very officiously, talking permitted.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Okay, do you have to give them permission?
Yeah, I've given it, but I think Ray will ask when he needs to ask. So coming now back to the DBA specifically, right? It is a 3-year program. How is it structured? If you can help people understand the structure and what are they going to be doing in the DBA for 3 years?
So the way it's structured is broadly into 3 phases. So the first phase is you take 3 courses, which are foundational courses, which is, techniques of how to do research. Okay. So the first 3 courses will be based on that. These are all online, self-paced. You do it at your time and your place. We have video recordings from the professors who, you listen to, you do some assignments. And then at the end of those 3 courses, if you successfully pass those 3 courses, you do an exam. Now I know you're like, come on, I mean, this is 2023, we are managers, we don't want to do exams. And the exams are just to, it is not like, we are asking you multiple choice questions or something. We're just giving you a kind of a case study and saying, how will you apply whatever you've learned to a particular situation? So it's what you probably do at work every day. You're like, hey, I have a situation today, what am I supposed to do? You think like a manager, but we're applying foundational tools. So that's the first part. The second part is you decide on a concentration. You say, hey, I want to, and of course it's going back to against what I was saying earlier, but let's say a couple of you, Raphael just said he's in finance, you want to do only finance related thing because that's really what you're passionate about. So you do a concentration of 3 courses in finance or marketing or a thing else. Now you may say, no, you convince me that the DBA is better. I want to do an array of them. You can take 1 course on marketing, 1 finance, 1 leadership, or whatever you would like to. And then at the that's the second phase. So you finish this. Now all your studying part is over. And again, these are 7.5-week courses. You do it at your own pace, and you'll get feedback from the professors at the professors. Okay. And then the third part is your one-on-one. This is an individualized research thesis. Okay, so you say, hey, listen, I want to figure out how Gen AI is going to change my department or career or industry or whatever. You choose a topic, and then you work with a committee of 2 people who will be working with you, and you come up with final research product, which normally would take you about at least 1.5 to 2 years. Okay, you're like, come on, this is something I'm doing on my own. I can do it in 2 days. No, you can't. You realize it just takes a lot of effort and time. So these are the 3 broad phases.
So with the, deciding your topic area for your thesis, right? Like you said, like that is not like, I'll come up with it in a day or anything like that. So what are the major challenges people face? How do they, how should they start thinking about it today? Or should they, just,
right. Yeah, so I don't know what the motivation for most of you are here to do the doctorate. I know Raphael saying, hey, he wants to go to, teach in colleges or do research in there. But think about at work, what is something that is really, really bothering you? Like, I wish I had an answer for this. Why can't people do this? Oh, simple thing like, why don't people just come to work every day? Why are working from home? Why are people not productive? Or maybe there's a technical question, how can I make sure that this particular marketing tool is working or not, or whatever. So whatever is bugging you, what is nagging you, what is irritating you, or you hear about Gen AI, I'm like, how can I use Gen AI into my, workplace? I would suggest start keeping a little diary, blog or whatever, notebook, and, write down those questions. Now the problem with research is, we have these very big questions. We're like, oh my God, let's save the world. But really we want to, it's impossible to answer all the questions. So the first thing you learn is to narrow it down. The first class you learn, in the DBA program is narrow the research. So narrow it down so that it's researchable, right? So let's say if I ask you, what is the meaning of life? Okay. It's not really researchable, right? But you say, hey, what are the factors that will contribute to happiness? That is probably more researchable. Okay, so you have to start thinking differently from this very, very broad thing as a manager to very, very narrow thing for that particular topic. And then of course you can bring your expertise, your knowledge to be able to do that. I think a lot of people, I worked with more than 100 DBA students, all executives. They have a hard time figuring out what to research, and they start off with this big funnel. So we say this is funnel. Then you will have conversations one-on-one with your team, and then you'll broaden it down to something which is researchable and which is useful at the end, right? It's not like left nose research or whatever.
So we have 2 questions that have come in the Q&A section. One is from Raphael. Please, what is the time period of the program and what is the cost of the program? So yeah, do you want to take that? The time period, I can take the cost after.
So the time period is about 3 years. Most of the time it'll take you about 3 years. It's like I said, it's 6 courses at 7.5 weeks. So it's about a year, and you'll have a couple of weeks in the middle. So about a year or a little bit more than a year to do your courses. And then the rest of the time will be to do your dissertation, what we call the dissertation research. A lot of students are saying, hey, can't we do it faster? Sure. The thing is, it is not a question of time, rather than it's a question of quality of thinking. So it's not like, hey, listen, I'll do the research, I've got this, I'll do this. It takes time and effort. Now, you don't want, like, think about this. Most of you all barely use any kind of research which comes out of universities, right? You like, I don't even know where to find it. I don't even know if it's useful or not. But you want to make sure that the stuff that you're getting is good. You don't want to find research which is like, oh, people did it in 2 days, obviously they didn't think about this. You look at a match, you're like, look at this research, it's so bad, because I can't even use it because I forgot to do this, and this. So I think thinking involves far more time than writing or doing.
Yeah.
And that is what you have to be doing all the time. You're like sitting in an airplane, you're going on a vacation, and suddenly you're thinking, oh my God, maybe that's something triggered it. So of course, there are people who try to do it earlier, faster. It's up to you, but it has to be a good quality thing. You want rigorous quality thing that stands the test of time, that stands rigorous, throwing of stones at it and not finding holes in it. So that's the challenge. And Vic can take the cost question.
Yeah. So, I mean, while the program is, the tuition fee is $65,800, there are scholarships available. So once you actually apply to the program, right, and the application is reviewed by the GGU team, an offer of admission will be released to you, which will give it, which will give you a final tuition fee, right? So the scholarships are relatively high, 50% to 70%, for example. But I mean, you do have to apply to actually find out the scholarship amount. So my recommendation is, if this program does interest you, do take out the time to write this statement of purpose, and we can discuss the admissions process in a second. And and apply, and then you can basis the offer received by you can then take a call on whether it fits your needs or it doesn't, and if it's affordable. So yeah, got it. Cool. So I think the questions have started rolling in, doctors. This is fantastic. We have one from Amos. Amos is asking for clarity on a number of areas, right? So if you could talk a bit about the accreditation of Golden Gate University and the DBA program.
Okay. So we are accredited by WASC. We are ranked number 1 for many, many years for working adults in the country. And the accreditation by WASC involves making sure this is a Western Association of Schools and Colleges. Stanford, UC Berkeley, all of them are also accredited by WASC. And this makes sure that the quality of teaching, this makes sure that the actually feedback from the students, like all of you, if you become students, are taken into account almost every 6 months to a year and updated. This makes sure that we are giving the state-of-the-art knowledge to people. Okay, so WASC is very, very stringent kind of accreditation that they want. Okay, the fee structure he's talked about, the discount he'll talk about. The students will not be stuck in the middle of the program, and we have a MOU with Upgrad that in case for whatever reason we decide not to to terminate this thing, all the students who are in the program will continue and finish and get the degree from GGU. Right?
Yeah.
So you want to go into talk about the discounts and
yes,
how long the discount payment plan?
So again, there are no discounts in the program, to be honest. There's just the scholarship, right? Which is done because Upgrad and Golden Gate University have partnered to create a fund for working professionals to globally actually access these scholarships. So additionally, there are no discounts given. Payment plan, again, that is at the discretion of Upgrad, because they do collect the money on behalf of Golden Gate University. But I believe that there are some set plans between the two teams that have been set out, right? And I think assurances that students will not be stuck in the middle of the program, not only basis like, let's say, the program ending, but even in case, for example, we constantly monitor how a student is performing, right, across the cohort, across different batches. And so in case we do see someone falling behind peers, right, and we do measure it against an average peer level, additional support will be given to that student to ensure that they are able to overcome whatever hurdle they're facing. And the hurdle could be anything from, in the coursework, they're not understanding a certain concept, or it could be something stronger that in the research phase, they need a little extra time. And all of that can be figured out with the help of the support team that is available to help you complete the program. The next question is, will it be all 100%? Where will graduation be? Over to you, Doctor.
So yes, the course is entirely 100% online. The graduation, you have an option. You can actually come to San Francisco during our graduation terms. I think we have twice in a year, and actually physically walk with with peers and do your graduation. It's absolutely up to you. The cost is not included. The cost of traveling to San Francisco is not included in the tuition. Am I right, Vic?
Yes, correct. You're right.
We also offer something called an immersion. And I think we've had maybe 15, 20 students from each cohort who come. It's up to you. Again, that's an additional cost. You travel to San Francisco, and we have a week-long immersion where you have professors talk to you. You can interact with the people in the San Francisco community and the professors. It's not like the people who don't come will lose out anything. This is just for people who would like to come. So then the GGU will actually give you your tourist visa papers or whatever needed. That we'll make sure that we offer you all the documentation, and you can come and actually physically be part of the entire college and see it. In fact, today I have, just like all of you prospective students, I have a student who's flown in from, I don't know where, I think he was in USA, and he's coming down, and we are meeting him in person today just to give him a walk around the college.
How nice. Dr. Shalini would love to hear how that goes after, for sure. Yeah. We have a question from Amos again. Is there a requirement for residency? How long is it for, and what happens during the residency in San Francisco?
All right. So like I said, it's not required. 90% of the people don't come, right? And you don't have to. It's nothing happens. I think during the residency, what we do is a couple of things. We introduce you to a couple of professors that you have been learning from, and we have some kind of seminars on topics that interest people. We take you around the community. You'll go to, I think this time they went to Salesforce office, had some kind of interaction with them. We'll take you around Silicon Valley and show you various things in the valley. But I think the people who like to come are people who say, hey, listen, I want to come and physically see that this thing really exists. I want to interact with the professors who are doing that. So it's not required at all. It is not that people who come here will get more education or less education. So don't worry about that. Okay.
So the next question comes from Pranam, from Germany, if I remember correctly. So he's asking the overall DBA acceptance across industries. So do all industries accept DBAs? What is the acceptance like across different areas? And Pranav, if there's a specific industry you have in mind, please add that as well so we can discuss it.
So think about all of you are working professionals. Do you ever hire somebody who has a PhD for your normal marketing, finance, production, operation? You don't, right? If you hire somebody as an R&D, as a PhD, you'll probably be in R&D or, and have deep expertise in that. So companies really don't care whether you have a DBA or not. I mean, I think to all those hundreds and hundreds of students who finished a DBA, what they find is they're far more effective at work because now they've got a different way of thinking. Now, remember when you did your MBA, it was very broad, you went to a lot of topics and it wasn't evidence-based work, right? You're like, hey, these are the best tools. This is how you learn these theories of Herzberg for motivation. You will learn how to do, capital investment, CapEx models and stuff like that. So those are very, very, very specific things, and those are useful. But what the DBA does is teaches you how to actually come to the solution to anything through a very, very systematic method. So everyone who's been there, I mean, I've had students, who were in different companies, have gone to Google or IBM or, various other companies. And they said, what we've got is we've got a very different way of managing, of leading and coming to solutions. So there is no, I mean, of course, all of them, have got promotions, not because of a DBA, but because of the quality of work that they have done as a result of the DBA. Okay. I don't think any HR manual says, okay, if you have a DBA, you get a promotion. So having said that, industries, I like I said, I have worked with about 100 plus DBA students for the last decade. And it's been across all industries. No industry said, hey, you're a DBA and we don't want you. In fact, I had a student, he was from Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan, I don't remember. And he said he was in, investment trading and stuff like that. And he said only 10% of whatever very specific area that he was trading in, only 10% of the people in the world in his industry have any kind of doctorate, right? And he, the minute he had his DBA, he put it on things. He said, hey, I've become part of the elite. And now people, will start showing me more respect. And, they ask me questions, which probably wouldn't have asked me earlier. So that's my short answer. So it's not like, hey, you're doing this. But let's go to another part. If you're doing a doctorate, like Rafael mentioned earlier about going to industry, as a professor, then yes, a DBA is accepted as as equivalent to a PhD when you're applying for a job in academia. So it's equivalent to that, So when I get a job after my DBA, I am considered equal to a PhD. And it's not like, hey, no, you're not a PhD, you'll get less money or less work or whatever. It's equivalent.
Sorry, I was on. Yeah. What
Yeah.
are the reasons why GGU has not applied or been granted the AACSB accreditation? And we do get this question quite often. So, Doctor, if you have any.
Yeah. Okay. So I have worked in many universities. Most of them have had AASB. Now, the difference between GGU and them is the reason we don't have AASB accreditation is a very simple one. AASB accreditation wants the professors to be DBAs or PhDs, all professors. Okay, that is or whatever, 95% of them. Now, because we are #1 college in the country for working professionals, I think for many years, we are doing we have courses which are in the state of the art, like in IT management or business analytics. We have state of the art knowledge things. We are in Silicon Valley. We have people who work at Google and IBM who will come and teach for us, right? Now all of them don't have a PhD. Now this was a trade-off we had to make. We said, hey, listen, do we get a practitioner who knows this thing versus a PhD who's probably never worked in, really worked in the industry? And now what is the best benefit for our students? And then we realized, hey, our students will learn far more from the practitioner Google who does not have a PhD, rather than looking for that one, unique gem who has a PhD and is working at Google, right? So that's the reason we chose to rather get good quality practitioners teaching for us who are good teachers, rather than just focus on the PhDs. And therefore then ASB says that, oh, no, thank you. So we don't even apply for the ASB. It's not like we've not been granted. We don't even apply for it because I think we're losing a good quality knowledge based on that. And our students have said, oh my God, this person taught me so much. And now we've got a job in, IBM or Google because I've got connections with them. Which a full-time professor cannot do.
Got it. So, basically what you're telling us is that, GGU has actually taken an active decision never to apply for the AACSB because you believe that students will get more benefit from, having professor practice or professor that actually have experience versus the academic qualifications required by the accreditation. So, I guess it's a choice you have to make. Yeah.
Right.
We have a question from Amos, which is: are there live synchronous sessions, or are all sessions asynchronous? Are students expected to be online for a minimum hours during the week? Do they need to post comments, etc., on submissions by fellow students? So lots of academic questions from Amos.
Right, and I think Vic can also help us here. So no, none of them are synchronous for most courses. Now, for some courses, I think you can do all of them 100% asynchronous, but I have to put a but there, because I think there were 1 or 2 professors who wanted to have a particular course. I think there was one course where they want you to meet once in a while, with your peer group to critique each other's research. And we are trying to find a way where you don't have to meet online. But right now that's there, where you don't have to really meet online. There are no synchronous classes, but what UpGrad and GGU has done together is we have something called live sessions. I think that's once a semester. If you like to, it's not mandatory. If you like to actually sit and interact with the professors, you can do. They also have sessions with the TAs, right? Where you're like, hey, you're struggling with something like Vic mentioned earlier, you can, they have sessions and you can attend them. So none of this is mandatory. So if you really want to just do everything synchronous, sure. Now, will there be discussions and posts? And yes, there not discussions, but there's definitely assignments to be posted. Nobody's checking how many hours you do. Again, it's back to the quality of submissions and whether you do that. Okay, so there's no minimum number of hours. If you can think fast and think deep and do it in 5 minutes versus 10 hours for most people, it's a different thing. Okay.
Yeah, I think it comes back also that everyone, signing up is, a senior manager, a director, a VP, a CEO. So there is no, from GGU side especially, there's no like monitoring as such of that, have they put in 15 hours, but it's much more on the quality of the work that has been done. And, it's very much about being a self-starter in the program, I would say. I don't know if you agree with that, Dr. Shalini.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So Victoria is asking, can we finish the course any earlier than anticipated?
So definitely you'll minimum 1 year to finish the core courses, like exam, a little bit more than a year, and the concentration courses, what we call, now we are giving you about 1.5 to 2 years for your dissertation. So like I said in the beginning, if you do nothing else in the world but sit down and just do this, maybe you can. So it depends on you and your research advisor and how well it is. So we don't say, hey, listen, okay, you can finish in 2 years and whatever you give me is fine. We are going to go through a lot of quality checks, and we have students, who will come with the research and be like, no, not workable, go back. And we have to do a lot of iterations and you'll be frustrated. I have students who are like, I am really passionate about this. We're like, okay, great. And then they'll come to this topic and they can't narrow it down, because they were like, oh, they want to solve the entire world's problem. And we're like, it's not feasible to do research on this. So there's a lot of iteration. So if you and your research, your partner or your advisor can get together and make a plan and get high quality, sure, you can, So far, like I've now been associated with many DBA programs around the world. I think the earliest anyone's finished is 2 years and 8 months. So, and that was also, that lady was just, I think her advisor got like, oh my God, this one's on my door every single minute. But that's fine, you can, but again, I said, go back to quality and rigor rather than just finishing it in time. Okay.
Understood. So it's possible, but it's difficult.
Yeah, it's good. Quality is more important than anything.
Fair. So we have someone who's anonymous. Please ask all questions with her name, guys. So Dr. Shalini knows who you are. No, I'm kidding. So we have an anonymous question which says, hi, may I know about the job opportunity for graduates of DBA in the US specifically?
All right. So because we are accredited with WASC, and any graduate from GGU is considered equivalent to a ASCB, scholar practitioner, what we call them, or even scholar academic at something. What we found is, I think about 8 or 10 years ago, there was okay. So the first DBA was started in 1958 by Harvard College, and their DBA was basically nothing but a PhD. It was a full-time thing. And then nothing happened for many years. And then in 2010, I think, no, maybe a little bit earlier than that, Case Western came up with this DBA, just like what you all are doing, right? Whereas executives come for a weekend, study, and then, go and finish a program. And most PhDs, the colleges pay for it. Here you pay, right? So it's a different model in that sense too. And the reason Case Western started this was purely because they found there was a huge gap in the number of professors needed in business schools versus what was available coming through the PhD programs. And then they also found the PhD programs in business were these are people, very smart people who finished their masters and then they're doing the PhD, have never worked a day in their life. And they really don't know what industry really is. They really don't understand what this is happening. So they were finding that the effectiveness of the professors was not very good. So this is early 2000s, right? Then they started this. Then the 2008 crisis happened and tons and tons of business schools shut down. But then, colleges were on their path to like, oh, maybe we should find good DBAs to do this. So right now we have about 80 colleges around the world with offer DBAs, and in different forms, whether it's like ours or in person or whatever, all for executives. We find, like, at least, let's say from my college where I graduated, during my batch, everyone who wanted a job in academia got one in USA. Okay. From our DBAs at GGU, there are people who graduated and had jobs in academia if they wanted to do that, but most of them don't want it for some reason. So yes, if you have a DBA, I think more and more colleges are seeing the value of someone like you who's worked for many years and has a terminal degree, because they realize that you're far more effective as a teacher in class than as a full PhD, because these full PhD come and they talk and they teach students. I'm like, listen, come on, what are you talking about? I mean, I go to work even as an intern somewhere, and it's very different. So yes, you do get jobs. You are competing with all the other PhDs. From an academic point of view. And like I said, in industry, nobody really cares whether you have a DBA. Tell me, do any of you all say, I want a DBA in your job descriptions? No one does, right? So, but I think all the students whom I have coached over the years say that, hey, listen, just having a DBA helps us in interviews, helps us at jobs, helps us, in very structured thinking, and a way of analyzing things very, very differently. So they've found value, but nobody, I don't think I've ever seen a job description for a CFO or a CEO saying wanted DBA. No.
Got it. So Victoria is asking, my scholarship payment ends after 14 payments after I paid my deposit. Does this mean my program was studied for 14 months instead of 1 year? I believe she means the core program. But Victoria, your scholarship payments have no bearings on your course, on your course duration. The course duration, as Dr. Shalini mentioned, is 3 years, with 1 to, let's say, slightly above 1. So it could maybe be up to 14 months also of the first year with the core courses, but it has no bearings on your scholarship payments. So yeah. Amos is asking, what is the structure of the dissertation? Is it standard, introduction, lit review, methodology, data collection, and results, conclusions and recommendations, or can different students have different structures?
Okay, Amos. Okay, the structure is like what you mentioned. But I think if you are my student and if you come up with something that requires very different kind of thing, I would be more than happy to structure this as long as it meets the rigor and quality. But I think the structure as said by GGU is as exactly as you laid out. The other thing is, I think UpGrad and GGU have tied up with another DBA called DBA for Generative AI or Emerging Technologies. And in that, we're actually giving students 3 options. One is to do a dissertation. The other is to write a book. And we'll assist them. They're not going to, we're not going to, fund the book or whatever. And the third option is to help them get a patent. So you have a choice of actually generating a patent versus a dissertation. Of course, the patent will come through research of yours. And we are not funding the patent. I know a patent's expensive. We're just going to help you, come up with your idea and, do a search and help you do the search for it. So we are open to being creative around these things, but the standard will follow what you've mentioned, the literature review recommendations.
Andy Wynn has a question. Who will teach us in the DBA course? Will we learn from offline videos or live streaming from teachers?
So the core courses are offline videos, which are recorded by GGU faculty in San Francisco, or in USA. Like I said, we do have live sessions, only not mandatory, only if you have questions, you have any kind of resolution of things that you don't understand. We do have that frequently within each course. And that's it. Nothing is mandatory. Everything is offline. There's no live synchronous thing.
So there's a question is, how many intakes are there in a year? Is admission on a rolling basis? So currently there are 4 to 8 intakes a year. So they usually happen at every 3 months or every 6 weeks, depending on, which kind of month that is. What we do recommend is that admission is on a rolling basis. So if you are interested, we recommend apply early. And Dr. Shalini, if you recommend anything different, please just stop me. I don't mean to talk for you. Also. Yeah, I don't recommend you apply early. Also gives you the opportunity to get the best scholarship possible as well. So, if you are interested and you are considering, and the start date is maybe a month or two away, do apply early, and then you can take a call like I mentioned earlier. So Raphael has a question. What is the academic requirement for the DBA program?
We have, you have to have a master's degree, and you have to have a minimum GPA to be able to do that. If you don't have a master's degree, if you have a bachelor's, then we substitute the number of years of experience that you have at what level, and we can, we can substitute that. We also want to look at a statement of purposes. So there are times where people have, I think we had a case where a student had 4 years experience, and he had his master's, but we were like, hey, listen, you don't have enough experience to be able to, appreciate what you're going to go into. But there are people with bachelor's with 15, 16 years of experience at, at least at a leader level, director level. And we were like, okay, you don't have a master's, it's fine, So there is, we want to make sure that we get in people who are committed and who are not just doing this for just another degree, but actually doing this. Okay.
Right. So the application process is basically, I mean, the minimum requirement, which is like the baseline, is that you have either a master's or or a bachelor's plus 5 years of experience. After that, you will be asked to write a statement of purpose, submit your resume, and 3 references, which will then be put together your entire application packet, and basis that an offer of admission will be released to you or not. So yeah. Amos has a question. Do WES and other equivalency evaluation agencies recognize GGU certificates? For instance, if graduates apply for faculty or professional roles in other countries, they do. But if you want to talk about that, Doctor.
No, I mean, as you can see on the Upgrad website or the DBA website, it says the GGU DBA is a globally acknowledged and recognized program which is validated by the Doctorate equivalency awarded by WES. So yes, it is.
Yeah, so GGU are WES recognized, and so they do hold like internationality, which I think is amazing. Are dissertation supervisors assigned, or do candidates have an option to select as advisors? Do all supervisors have DBA's PhD with industry experience?
So right now you will be assigned based on your interest. And you like say we have somebody doing in leadership, so we'll make sure that the supervisor has skill in leadership. Yes, they all, I think 90% of them have PhDs rather than DBAs. But yes, they'll either have a DBA or PhD. We're not, obviously you're not allowed to have anybody who does not have that particular thing. What we do is anybody who we actually at GGU, not Upgrad, we interview each faculty to make sure that they're up to GGU standards, and then they become a part-time faculty with GGU, and then they become, that's the pool from which you will be assigned a particular supervisor. Now, what if you're assigned a supervisor and you don't like them? Or there's no chemistry or whatever. Maybe they're very, very good, in their field, but they just don't have any chemistry. You can actually, ask for a change and, give some reasons, and we will assign you another supervisor. So don't feel like you're stuck with them. And the reason we don't want you to get in your own supervisors is because we want to do some quality control of the people who supervise you, right, from a GGU end. Okay. So if you find somebody you're like, hey, this person I know is fantastic, has a PhD, has industry experience, they know my field, ask them to, apply, and then we will interview them. If they're good enough, they become part of the roster and, onto you. So we're not like, oh no, this is the only group, we are going to be, this and get the best quality for you.
So Kevin has asked, I'm currently undergoing coursework for a DBA program from another university. Would GGU consider granting exemptions to the coursework? What would the criteria to be met, Kevin?
So Kevin, it's a good question. In fact, all PhD programs, all DBA programs in the world get the same question. And the simple answer is no. Purely because I think the structure and the way each college does their thing is very, very different. So I've had students who've done, maybe 1 semester at Stanford, and they're like, okay, now can I come and, do full PhD and come and do this, and you get credit. we just don't, because the way the courses are structured are very, very, very different, right? So the short answer is no. But you'll have a leg up because you'll learn something more than the others, right? You'll be faster ahead.
I'm a business owner for years, but my academic background is computer science. Will it be a disadvantage for a DBA candidate? And are you advisor for tech background to successfully on the Doctorate in Business Administration? And are your advisors from a tech background to successfully on
Okay.
the?
Okay, right. Oh yes, absolutely. Like I said, we have advisors from all kinds of places, and I said we have a specialty right now going on. It's just starting this week. On DBA in emerging technologies, the Gen AI, and all the professors there have patents in tech. They've done their PhDs from everything from John Hopkins to Tufts, and all with very, very deep and all practitionings. Right now they are all practitioner doctorates, right now working the field. I mean, if you're in Gen AI or an AI, you better be practicing right now, otherwise you're just not taking advantage of what's happening in the world right now. So yes, absolutely, very, very, very deep tech skills.
So because we are coming up on time, I am going to take the last 3 questions, right, that have come in already. Oh, I guess 4. Okay. Is the supervision team is a 2-man committee? What is the modality for coordination between the 2 members?
Yes, this is 2023. Come on, let's be gender fluid. It is a 2-person committee, right? So you don't want me on the committee, fine. Yes, we have a platform with Upgrad, where Upgrad will make sure that all 3 of you all talk together, and you can decide the structure and way you are actually doing this. So don't worry about it. They will do this, and you have to also make sure that your 2 members get along together instead of them fighting over you and you're like stuck in the middle. So yeah.
So the next question is, what are the next 2 intake dates for the program? What are the number of scholarships for each intake? The next intake date is November 15th, if I'm not mistaken. And after that, it will be December 31st. I recommend you go for the November one, because December 31st, I don't think anyone wants to start a program on that date. That being said, though it is December 31st, the actual learning will start, like, let's say in the first week of January or the second week of January. So don't worry about it either way. How many scholarships in each intake? There's never a finite number. There's usually an amount given to each cohort that can be utilized for that cohort, right? And so once that is done, because of the rolling admissions, then it is passed on. Then it is passed on to the next cohort for the scholarships. So yeah, I think that answers that. Since my interest is in education for Victoria, do I follow the same pathway?
Absolutely, Victoria. I mean, that'll be your area of learning, right? So absolutely, yes, you can.
Cool. What is the minimum requirement to be enrolled in the institution, and are international students allowed?
Of course. I mean, this is an international program. Like, as you can see, we are the United Nations right here. We have students from all over the world, right? Absolutely, yes.
Fantastic. And okay, the second last question, because one more, is DBA program in AI. Can I have more details on this program? Is this the same fee structure and term? Akhileshwaran, it is not. It's actually different. The DBA in Gen AI is a more specialized course with more courses in generative AI. And there are also 3 mandatory immersion programs. So I think Dr. Shalini mentioned the immersion programs as being optional in the current DBA that we're discussing. In the generative AI programs, there are 3 mandatory immersions: one in India, one in Singapore, and one in San Francisco. So because of that, the fee structure is slightly different. What I will do is I'll have someone from our team reach out to tomorrow or today, depending on where you're based, and give you the details of the program.
And I think also the difference there is we are doing that synchronously. The DBA and emerging technology, Gen AI, is synchronous, because like I'm teaching AI courses, and what you realize is every day things change so much. So if I recorded this 6 months back, it is almost irrelevant now. So that is synchronous. So that's a big difference you have to understand. It is synchronous on Saturday and Sunday evening India time. Okay. It's again 7.5 weeks. Just to let you know, it is not asynchronous. Okay.
So we have a question which is, I'm a safety manager engineer, with an MS in health and safety. Can the leadership focus on occupational health and safety?
So Mark, thank you for the question. Yes, I was just answering that right now. But you can, no, the courses on leadership will talk about broad leadership and it'll give you applications, everything. It does not focus only on that, only on occupational health or safety, but you can definitely do your research in that. We can get you an advisor who has, experience in that, and you can work in that. The whole idea is we are giving you tools. Okay, and then how it's like you're getting a car to drive, and now you can drive to the top of Mount Everest. No, you can't, but you can drive up a hill, you can drive on a flat plane or whatever it is. Now, so the tool is this leadership skills, and you are going to apply it to, we want you to apply it to your specific field. So yes, we've had students take the general leadership courses and actually do things in health and safety and occupation. Absolutely doable.
Perfect. Raphael is asking, any other institution outside the US for cost consideration? I'm not sure what that means. If there are other DBA programs, but GGU has one DBA program from San Francisco, and GGU is in the US. So, yeah. Is there any handbook for this webinar? Abdul, there is a recording that is being done, and I will ask your admissions counselor to share the recording with you tomorrow. And you can actually, if you go back to the registration link that you clicked on, you can see the recording for this webinar at any time. So if you just look at the registration link, or or reach out to your counselor, a recording will be available. And with that, Dr. Shalini, I think you've answered all the questions, which is over 30 questions today. Thank you so much for your time. Before we leave, I just want to let everyone know that I have put the link to the program in the in the chat box. You can click on it. If you click and just put in your details, an admissions counselor from your region that has counseled many individuals like you that are looking the DBA will reach out to you within 24 hours. So you can then ask them more questions, reach out to them, and you can always reach out to me as well. I'll put my email in the chat box as well. Additionally, I want to mention that UpGrad does have a refer and earn program. The refer and earn program basically means that if you are interested in joining the program, or someone that's interested in joining the program, you can actually give references of people, and should they enroll, you also earn a certain incentive for making that referral and putting UpGrad and that individual together. So you give them education, and you get an incentive on the side. So I think that's it. Again, Dr. Shalini, thank you so much for yeah, and you can always write to us at anna.wong@upgrad for any other queries that you have. So Dr. Shalini, I just want to thank you so much for your time. It has been fantastic. I think this has been a really popular session. Lots of attendees, lots of questions, and hopefully you'll have the chance to meet all of them in person at GGU.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm looking forward to great amount of research and knowledge being generated by you, wherever your doctorate degree takes, wherever your doctorate studies takes you, and to future doctors. All of you can put doctor in front of your name. Fantastic.
Thank you, Dr. Shalini. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Take care. Good luck.